Yesterday I started working on this new countryside project, and today we're going to continue working on it, specifically details. I've got to add a bunch of details to this area. For the most part, the core structures are done. Just need to do a bit more blending, build some more hills, but then we've got to add details to all these plates. The gravel road, the green area, the side of the creek, the rock work, these two plates, this gravel road over here, the airstrip, the creek beside the airstrip, all of this stuff needs to be changed up and also detailed. So I actually want to start with the lower sections. That's the area with the creek and the gravel road, and also the blending to the elevated area there. So I'm actually going to bring all of these up to my desk and set it up just like it is down here, and then just start building. I'm going to start with the most monotonous task, which of course is the gravel road. It's covered with 1x1 pieces, so as you can imagine, doing this becomes a little bit repetitive and a little bit boring, but I think it's worth it in the end. And I don't want to do it too quickly just because I don't want to get bored, so I'm doing it chunk by chunk, but this is definitely the biggest chunk that I'm taking on here today. So you'll see that little trail there that goes actually over the creek. It was built using the quarter round tiles, some 1x1 circular studs, which are in tan, and also some 1x1 circular tiles in light gray. And I'm actually just going to recycle those and use those on the gravel road. I don't think that trail needs to be there anymore. I do plan on adding a whole bunch of trails throughout the entire countryside, but that's not something that I plan to finalize until I know exactly where all the structures are going to go, and also where I actually want to put the trails, and I'm not sure what the design of that is going to be. But I was able to remove those pieces very easily, and then I just started allocating them to the gravel road. I actually did it in layers, so I go around with all the studs in various colors, then I go around with all the circular tiles, pop some 2x2 circular plates in there, also some 1x1 regular plates, and then once that's all taken care of, and I've got like a nice variety of color, I fill in all the gaps with the 1x1 quarter round tiles, which luckily for me, I found on the pad wall one time. So I actually have a large freezer bag, but that freezer bag is sort of dwindling. I probably will have to order some more if I plan on doing the exact same design throughout all of my gravel roads. So somebody did mention that, hey, your roads are sort of sunk into the ground. I don't know if I like that. I'd rather have it elevated off the ground so there's more of like a shoulder and like a ditch on the side. I think both ideas are really cool. I wanted to use the mills plates to my advantage and get it into the mills plate. I think it's cool because you can go around with those wedge plates and give it an interesting shape. However, some elevated roads would be pretty cool as well. I think that this looks neat, and I'm sort of handcuffed into doing it because I've already gotten this far, so I may as well just continue. And what it is there's actually one plate underneath the reddish brown plate, and then I cover it with all of this stuff here, and that actually makes it one plate lower than your standard mills plate, which of course is one brick and one plate. And what that allows me to do is go around and put the 2x4 and 2x3 wedge plates in left and right orientation and just sort of scatter them on the side. And that makes it the same height as the grass on either side, and that just gives this gravel road a really nice shape, and it almost makes it look like it's curving a little bit. It's actually not a perfectly straight line, so that helps as well, but I think it just sort of takes away from the fact that this gravel road for the most part is straight. So here we go, a look at the final product. I think it looks pretty awesome. A ton of pieces go into it, but I think it's definitely worth it in the end. Definitely a lot better than the reddish brown plate. So next up we have the creek here. This was actually the plate that was right on the end of the airstrip, and I want to expand the creek so it's a little bit wider, and I want to try and round that corner a little bit as well. So I rip out some of the 4x4 green plates and also the underlying brick, and then I start laying down a whole bunch of black plate. I do my underlying plate with the creeks in black because that's what I have the most of, and I know I can build a lot of creeks this way because I have a lot of parts, and I think it actually looks pretty good in the end. I'm rounding out that corner quite a bit because if I lay a bunch of black plate down in that corner and beef it up, well then I can use more green plate on the edge of the creek, which is going to get it up to that standard mills plate height, and it's going to help me round out the corner as well. So the black plate is just right on the base plate, and then I can put a tile on there so that creek has a little bit of depth, and then around the banks of it I can help blend it in with plates, cheese slopes, regular slopes, anything like that. You'll notice that I just installed the 12 stud wide black section there. That's actually 2 plates off the ground, so I put some underlying plate on it. That is going to be an extension of the airstrip. I am ripping apart the plate to the right, which is the gravel road, because I am expanding that creek a little bit because the airstrip doesn't have a whole lot of space like on that plate. That's why the creek was so narrow to begin with. But now that it's beside the gravel road plate, I can sort of bridge the creek onto both plates. It's not ideal because if it changes in the future, well, now that creek is on 2 plates, but it is what it is. I think that corner looks pretty round, and now it's time to lay all those trans light blue tiles just to take away from that black color there, and then also just scatter some miscellaneous pieces around the edge of it, and also texture the airstrip there. I did that with tiles, also some nougat 1x2 plates, some dark brown 1x4 plates, reddish brown 1x4 plates, and then some miscellaneous 1x1s to give it a nice color as well. And then I frame it using more of those wedge plates to get it up to the standard Mills plate height. Now we have this beautiful creek that's running through the countryside here, sort of meandering by and taking a hard right there by the gravel road and also the airstrip. We got that airstrip extension, and there you go. The 3 different components are coming together quite nicely. The next thing I need to work on is that hill that's going right up against the creek there, and that's going to blend in that raised platform. Not going to make this like a solid straight line, so I'm putting like a little angle into it, and I'm just building it using 2x4 brick in both green and also dark bluish gray, supporting it on the backside using a few different methods. Going to use one of those IKEA boxes, which is 6 bricks tall. And then also I'm going to use a bunch of 2x4 brick, and eventually I throw some Technic elements in there as well. The raised platform that sits beside this is one of those IKEA boxes tall, and then the Mills plates that sit on top of it range between 2 bricks and 3 bricks tall. So I just got to try and get this up to that same height. And I'm actually doing this a little bit differently. I'm locking that IKEA box in by building some towers beside it and then overlapping the plate onto those towers, and then I inserted that Technic piece just to help support the base construction of this green hill. I think the shape of it is quite nice. It just follows the contour of the creek. That's sort of what I was going for. Plus we have a combination of dark bluish gray and green. So I made it so it matches up perfectly with the hill on the backside of the airstrip plate, the one with all the slopes there on the left-hand side. And some of these tiers are like 2 studs deep, 3 studs, 4 studs deep, and then we have the 2 different colors. I think it really does work out quite well, and it just matches up with that creek beautifully. Here's a look at some of the support work on the backside. The existing one, I used staircase elements. This one I use that IKEA box. You can see it's locked in place there and on the Mills plate, so it's going to be pretty strong. I also used some of those panels with some 1x brick on top, and there's a couple technical elements buried within there as well. So now that we have the base construction ready to go there, it's time to add all the detail. Going to do this in layers once again, starting with slopes, so mixing in some dark bluish gray slopes and also green slopes, like a ton of them. I just want to get rid of that like Minecrafty look of this hill. I've done this in the past a lot. Like, this is sort of how I do things. I build the base construction and then I go ahead and add a ton of detail. I am making sure to like mix in a lot more dark bluish gray, just sort of sporadically all throughout this thing, and mix it in with the green so it just sort of looks natural. And we got some rocks in there. I'm also adding some flower elements in lime green as well to help break up the color a little bit. Now recently I built the cove and I think I added too many colors. I think sometimes you can add too many colors and it sort of takes away from it. So this time I'm reducing the amount of colors that I'm using. And then I also have to add one more layer on the top of the hill, and that is just a standard Mills plate. So it's the brick underneath and the plate on top, and that's going to blend in with the Mills plates on top of the raised platform. So I started with the rock panels on the far right because there wasn't a whole lot of space to work with there, but then as I move this way, I give that hill a little bit more of a grade, and there's a flatter spot on top. And I think that works out quite nicely. The next thing we need to do is just add some trees and vegetation, and I also need to tack down this 8 studs house because I'm pretty sure it's going to go right about there. I think it'll be a nice addition to this area. Now I actually want to add some more like height in this area. There's a lot of flat green here, so I'm not going to go too crazy with the trees. What I want to do is go crazy with wedge plates. I want to create like different elevation that's 2 or 3 plates up off the ground along the creek and in that big green area using wedge plates, but I don't know if I'm going to lay all those parts today, so I just laid a few trees for now. Well, I've laid a lot of parts today, like thousands of them. Hopefully I built it all right. We may as well place it and see how it looks. This is like one of my favorite parts because I've been building this stuff upstairs and it's like, I can't wait to place this. I want to see what it looks like. Okay, let's place it. And then I place it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I get down in the POV and I'm like looking through and I'm like, this is so cool. I love it. But I did notice that some blending had to be done here. So I moved some trees out of the way and I grabbed my 2x2 bricks, some slopes in light and dark gray, and also some plate, and then I do some blending so it hides all of those Mills plates under there because you can see some of the exposed colorful brick. It doesn't look too good, so I do some blending work just to sort of polish off this corner. However, with that said, I can't say that this is done yet because I still want to add trails, more vegetation, and I also want to mix in some heights using those wedge plates. Now this is what I like to look at right here. The POV, got that gravel road, the creek, the airstrip, all the vegetation. Things like this just take so long because it's so like dense with parts. It's funny, like sometimes I get started with the build and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I do this. And then it's like, I look at my clock and it's like, wow, I've just been building for 6 hours. And then I've just got like these plates done, this creek and this gravel road. But I love getting down there and just sort of weaving through the trees along the creek, having a look at the 8 Studs house. I can't wait to get the backdrop built with all those mountains, though. That's really going to pull this whole area together. It's sort of hard to truly visualize what it's going to look like until those mountains are built. Now, in regards to all the like sparse trees up there, I do need to add some more detail to like the Winnie the Pooh plate and also the treehouse plate. I just need to figure out where I'm going to put all these trails. And if there's going to be trails that are connect to like the treehouse to Winnie the Pooh. And I also want to add some more height using those wedge plates in all of these flat green areas. And all of that just sort of takes a lot of time because it just takes more and more parts. I really should continue working on the mountain as well. Like the mountain behind there, we've got all the regular bricks, and I've got to get that all textured. And then I also need to build that gravel road and also put all the underlying tiles underneath these ballast tracks. So I need to work on this area, but just slowly but surely it's coming together. At least like the base construction is done. So, well, it's getting there, I guess. So at least it looks somewhat decent. I also need to put all the reddish brown plate down in this gravel road area here where you can see I've got it cut out. That's just like exposed base plate. I've got to expand that creek on the airstrip as well. And then there's the base plate right there with some of the exposed underlying brick that I need to fix up and decide what I'm going to do with. And then there's going to be like the continuation of this creek that's going to flow back here. And also an angled gravel road, which will connect to the mountains and all the other mountains. And I'm going to have to build a bunch more trees as well because I don't think these trees are going to go very far, to be honest with you. And eventually we're going to have that winter village back here on an elevated platform. It's going to be funny. The only way you're going to be able to see like the details of the winter village is when I'm up on a ladder. That's my intention. I wanted to have it like way up there. But I'm just like having so much fun with the countryside, and days like this are just so satisfying when you just take something that doesn't look very good and it's not very presentable, and then you just like hammer it with parts and it turns out looking pretty good. I can't say that it's quite there yet, but slowly but surely every day we make a little bit of progress, which is a good thing. Things like this definitely don't happen overnight. Takes a long time, especially if you want to do it right. When I look at some of my old Lego City layouts, when it's just like the base plates and there's no mills work, it's just like, wow, that doesn't look very good. But you got to start somewhere, and you can't accumulate this quantity of parts overnight, and that's why it takes so long to build a Lego city. Is just the accumulation of the literally hundreds of thousands of pieces for landscapes like this. It's just all part of the process, right? Like the accumulation, the construction, the planning, and just the time involved with all that. It's a lot of fun though. Like, look at this. It's looking pretty good. We got the downtown core with that cove and the train track and all the modular buildings looking pretty sweet with that bicycle lane. We got the vehicles on the road. And then we also constructed this, what's it called? The farmer's market right behind the construction site there as well, with the Spring Lantern Festival, and also the canal, which is something new for my city. I never had a canal in the past, so I'm excited about that canal running through there. And there's still a lot of projects that I need to work on in the downtown core here. I need to get all those green plates textured on the side of the train track. I want to fix up some of the trees in the Central Park. I've got to put my traffic lights in there and minifigures. There's still no minifigures throughout the entire downtown core. I've got to go through and place the hundreds of minifigures that I have in bins ready to go for this area. I want to fix up some of the green plate texturing as well with like wedge plates as I've been mentioning. I want to add some more elevation, just like minor elevation that's like 1 or 2 or 3 plates. And then I've got to work on the entire amusement park as well, get all this train track all fixed up, build those walls, and just start mill splitting the amusement park. And then the mountains running through the center. I like jumping all over the place. I like working on the downtown core one day. I like working on the countryside and spending a couple days over here, and then I'll hop back over to the downtown and spend a couple more days over there, just so it breaks up my day, because nobody wants to build gravel roads and all that for a week straight. It's just not any fun, and I don't think you want to watch that for a week straight. But I think we got lots done today. I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Thank you so much for coming on by. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry about the mic earlier. I had it way too high during the other voiceover. Farewell.